You have watched it happen down at the lanes. A ball rolls straight for most of the boards. Then near the pins it turns hard and smashes into the pocket like it was steered by a hand you cannot see. And you have probably decided that curve belongs to younger arms, stronger wrists, and people who bowl every single week. I believed the exact same thing for years. But after months of digging through old manuals and older memories, I can tell you the hook has almost nothing to do with strength, and everything to do with a release that most bowlers were quietly taught to forget. The reason you never learned it is simple. It does not sell expensive equipment. So stay with me, because a book printed in 1958, written by the finest bowler alive at that time, holds the exact motion I am going to hand you today, and it works with the same body and the same ball you already own. I found that book in a damp cardboard box at a closing bowling alley outside Dayton, Ohio, and the moment I read one single sentence, everything I thought I knew about the hook fell apart. Let me tell you how this started, because I did not go looking for a mystery. I went looking for a reason to quit. I am past 65 myself. My wrist aches on cold mornings. My average had dropped, and every young man at the counter kept telling me the same thing. He said I needed more power. He said I needed to snap my wrist, whip my arm, and buy a reactive resin ball that cost more than my first car payment. So I tried it. I tried muscling that ball for 3 straight weeks. All I got was a sore elbow, a bruised thumb, and a score that went down instead of up. And that is when the suspicious part of me woke up, because I remembered watching men in their 70s, back in the 1960s, curve a ball beautifully into the pocket, over and over, without ever looking like they were straining a muscle. Those men were not strong. Many of them were smaller than me. So how did they do it? That question would not leave me alone. Therefore, I stopped listening to the counter and started digging into how the hook was taught before anyone was selling it. Here is the first thing I uncovered, and it made me angry that no one had ever told me plainly. The hook on a bowling ball does not come from turning your wrist. It comes from your fingers and from the order in which your hand lets go of the ball. Think about that for a second. For years I was told to twist, to snap, to force the ball to spin. But the physics of it, which I confirmed in bowling instructional material going back decades, is that the curve is created by revolutions, and revolutions are created when the ball rolls off your fingers cleanly as your thumb leaves first. Your thumb comes out, the weight drops onto your 2 middle fingers, and those fingers lift and rotate the ball on the way out like you are gently shaking someone's hand. That is it. That is the whole secret the young man never told me. And when your thumb leaves the ball before your fingers do, the ball is handed a spin, whether you are strong or not. Gravity did the swinging. Your fingers only had to guide the exit. But that raised a bigger question, one that kept me up at night. If the hook is that simple, and it does not require strength, then why does almost every older bowler I know roll it straight and leave those stubborn corner pins standing? Why did this get lost? To answer that, I had to go back to the golden age of the sport, and the dates tell a story on their own. In 1952, the American Machine and Foundry Company installed the first fully automatic pin setter, and bowling exploded across America. By the late 1950s, there were bowling centers in nearly every town, and families bowled together on weeknights. And in those years, the balls were made of hard rubber. A rubber ball does not grip the lane much on its own. It has almost no help built into it. Therefore, if you wanted that ball to hook into the pocket, you had absolutely no choice but to learn a proper release with your hand. The equipment gave you nothing. Your fingers had to do everything. So, an entire generation of ordinary people, including plenty of folks well past 60, learned the exact finger release I just described, because it was the only way to curve the ball at all. Then something changed. And this is where the trail got interesting. In the early 1980s, urethane balls arrived, and in 1991, a company brought out the first reactive resin ball, a ball with a surface so grippy and so aggressive that it would hook down the lane almost by itself. And that sounds like progress, does it not? But here is the consequence that nobody talks about. Once the ball could hook on its own, the pro shops and the manufacturers had a brand new product to sell every single year, and they had a brand new story to tell you. The story was that the hook lives in the ball, not in your hand. The story was that if your ball is not curving, you need a better ball. And a 14-pound reactive resin ball with a fancy core can cost you well over $200, sometimes closer to $300, and it needs resurfacing and oil extraction and constant fussing to keep it working. So the skill that a 70-year-old man in 1958 carried in his own 2 fingers, for free, quietly got repackaged and sold back to you as equipment you supposedly cannot bowl without. That is the villain in this story, and I want to be fair about it. Nobody committed a crime, but an honest, simple, free skill got buried under a sales counter, and people your age and mine were told, gently and repeatedly, that the answer was in the wallet instead of in the hand. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking right now, because I thought it too. You might be thinking that this is fine for a healthy 60-year-old, but your wrist is not what it used to be. Your grip is weaker. Maybe your knuckles are stiff with arthritis in the morning, and you cannot possibly be flinging a heavy ball around trying to shake hands with the pins. I hear you. So, I went and found the part of this investigation that is built specifically for you, for the body you have today, and I tested every piece of it myself before I would dare put it in front of you. The first thing I learned is that the old rule you were handed at the counter, the rule that says to use the heaviest ball you can possibly manage, is flat out wrong for hooking, and it may be the single thing hurting your game the most. For years, the standard advice was to grab a 16-pound ball because heavier knocks down more pins. But a ball you have to fight is a ball you cannot release cleanly, and a ball you cannot release cleanly will never hook. When your hand is straining just to hold the weight up, your thumb sticks in the hole, your grip clenches, and the ball drags off your hand flat and straight. So I dropped down. I went from a heavier ball to a 12-pound ball, and then tested a 14. And the moment my swing felt free, my hand relaxed. My thumb came out first, the way it is supposed to, and my fingers finally got to do their job. My hook came back not because I got stronger, but because I stopped straining. If you take only one thing from this whole video, let it be this: a lighter ball you can swing loose will hook more than a heavy ball you have to muscle. Do not let pride pick your ball. Let your swing pick it. The second thing is a drill you can do at home, in your chair, tonight, with nothing but your own hand, and it fixes the release faster than anything I found. Sit at your kitchen table. Rest your bowling forearm flat on the table with your hand hanging just off the edge, palm down, fingers relaxed. Now, very slowly, rotate your hand from a flat palm-down position toward a handshake position, thumb turning up toward 11 o'clock if you are right-handed, 1 o'clock if you are left-handed. That gentle turn, from underneath the ball toward the side of the ball, is the exact motion that creates the hook. You are not snapping, you are not forcing, you are just turning a doorknob a quarter turn, slow and smooth. Do that 20 times a night. What you are doing is teaching your hand and your muscle memory the shape of the release without any weight and without any strain. By the time you get back to the lane, your hand already knows the way. I did this drill for 2 weeks at my own table during the evening news, and I felt more improvement from that than from any ball anybody ever tried to sell me. And here's the third piece for you, the one that surprised me most, because it turns your age from a weakness into an advantage. I always assumed you needed to throw the ball fast and hard to make it hook. The opposite is true. A slower, smoother ball has more time to grip the lane and turn, while a ball fired too fast skids past the pins before it can ever bite. So the gentle, unhurried, pendulum swing that comes naturally to an older bowler is not something to apologize for. It is exactly the swing the hook wants. Let the ball swing back like a swing on a porch, and let it fall forward on its own weight. Do not throw it. Let gravity throw it. Your job is only to guide the exit with your fingers. I timed my own approach and found that when I slowed down and let the ball simply fall out of my hand, my hook got stronger, not weaker. Your steady pace is a gift. The counter never told you that, because a smooth, free swing does not require a single thing they can ring up. Before I go further, I want to mention that everything I have been uncovering, the old release, the forgotten finger mechanics, the history of how this skill got buried, I put into a book called Start Strong, written specifically for bowlers like you and me who want the honest method back without being sold something new every season. It is linked in the description below, and if this investigation is speaking to you, that is where the full picture lives. Now, back to what I was saying, but knowing to swing slow and turn like a doorknob still left one piece missing, and it was nagging at me, because I could feel the hook starting to come back. Yet I still was not carrying the pocket the way those old men did. I was hitting the pocket and still leaving pins standing. So there had to be something about where the ball enters the pins, some geometry the old-timers understood without ever using the word. And that is what sent me back into the research one more time, into the numbers that finally explained why the hook matters at all. Here is what I found, and it is the piece that ties the whole case together. It is not enough to just hit the pocket. It is the angle at which the ball enters the pins that decides whether you strike or leave that lonely corner pin standing. The United States Bowling Congress has done serious research on this using ball tracking and pin carry data, and what the numbers show is that a ball rolling dead straight comes into the pocket at a shallow, weak angle, and it deflects. It pushes pins sideways instead of driving through them, and it leaves corners standing again and again. But a ball that hooks comes in at an entry angle of around 4 to 6 degrees, and that angle lets the ball drive through the pins and send them tumbling into each other, clearing the deck. That is the whole reason the hook is worth learning. It is not for show. It is not to look like the young men. It is because the physics of the pins reward an angle that a straight ball simply cannot create. So every time I rolled it straight and left that corner pin, I was not unlucky. I was fighting geometry I could not win. The hook was not a fancy trick. It was the answer to a problem I did not even know I had. And once I understood the angle, I understood why the men of the Golden Age valued the release so much. They were not curving the ball to impress anyone. They were curving it because they knew, from thousands of frames, that the ball had to come in on an angle to carry. They just never had a laboratory to prove it. Their hands knew what the machines would later confirm. Therefore, the skill I was chasing was not nostalgia. It was correct, and modern research had quietly proven the old men right all along. Now let me take you to the moment the case finally broke open, because this is the part I have been holding on to, and it is the exact thing I found in that damp box in Ohio. The book was written by a man named Don Carter, and if that name means nothing to you, let me place him for you. In the 1950s and early 1960s, Don Carter was voted the greatest bowler the sport had ever seen. He was the first athlete in any sport to sign an endorsement contract worth $1 million. And in 1958, he put down what he knew in plain language for ordinary people, in a book of bowling secrets meant for the working families filling those new lanes. I sat on an overturned milk crate in that closing alley and read it by the light coming through a dirty window, and the sentence that stopped me cold was this. He wrote, in his own way, that the biggest mistake the average bowler makes is squeezing the ball and holding on too long, and that the secret to the hook is a relaxed grip and letting the thumb come out first so the ball rolls off the fingers on its own. That was it. That was the whole thing. Not strength, not a snap, not a $200 ball. A relaxed grip and a thumb that leaves first. The single most decorated bowler of the Golden Age, said the secret to the hook was to let go sooner and hold looser, and he said it in 1958 in a book that ended up rotting in a box because nobody was selling what it taught. Let me tell you exactly how to do what Don Carter wrote, so you can use it this week. It comes down to the order your hand leaves the ball, and it is the opposite of trying harder. First, your grip must be relaxed. If you squeeze the ball, your thumb swells and sticks in the hole, and it will not come out in time. So hold it soft, like you are holding a bird you do not want to crush. Second, the fit of that thumb hole matters more than anything on the counter. If your thumb hole is too tight, you will squeeze to hold on, and the whole release dies right there. A good pro shop can ease that hole for a few dollars, and it is the one thing worth paying for. Your thumb should come out clean and early with almost no effort. Third, as the ball swings down and forward and your thumb slips out, let the weight settle onto your ring finger and middle finger, and give that gentle handshake turn you practiced at the kitchen table, thumb rotating up toward the side. Your fingers lift and turn as they exit, and that hands the ball its revolutions. The ball rolls off the tips of two fingers, not off your whole straining arm. And here is how you know you did it right, because I needed a way to check myself. Watch your thumb. If your thumb is pointing at the pins after you let go, or if your hand finishes palm up like you are asking for change, you turn too much and too soon, and you probably squeezed. But if your thumb finishes pointing up and slightly to the side, around 10 or 11 o'clock, and your hand looks like it just finished a friendly handshake, you did it. That is the release Don Carter described. That is the release the old men used. And it costs you nothing but the willingness to hold looser and let go sooner. There is one more name I have to give you, because he is the living proof that this works for exactly the kind of bowler you and I are. His name was Earl Anthony. He came into the professional game later than most, wearing glasses, looking more like an accountant than an athlete, and he did not throw the ball hard or with brute power at all. He threw it slow, smooth, and accurate, with a controlled hook and a beautiful, relaxed release. And with that quiet, unforced style, he won 43 professional titles and became the first bowler to earn over $1 million in prize money. He beat the strong men not by being stronger, but by letting the ball do the work and putting it in the right place at the right angle every single time. When people tell you that you need power to hook a ball, remember the man in glasses who outbowled everyone with a slow arm and a soft hand. His whole career is the argument: you do not need strength. You need the release, the fit, and the angle, and now you have all three. So let me put the whole case back together for you, the way it finally came together for me on that milk crate. The hook is not muscle. It is the order your hand lets go. Thumb first, fingers last, with a soft grip and a slow swing. The heavy ball you were told to use is fighting you, and a lighter ball will hook more because your hand can finally relax. The reason the hook matters is the entry angle, 4 to 6 degrees, proven by modern pin carry research, that carries the pocket and clears the corner. And this skill was never rare. It was common knowledge, in 1958, written down by the greatest bowler alive, and it only vanished because grippy balls and yearly sales gave the shops a reason to tell you the curve lived in the equipment instead of in your own two fingers. I want you to feel what I felt when I finally understood this. Standing at that lane in Ohio, it was not excitement about bowling. It was quiet anger, and then relief. Because something simple and free had been taken from a whole generation of careful, self-reliant people and sold back to them at a markup, and I had almost quit the game believing I was too old and too weak, when the truth was that nobody had ever handed me the one honest sentence that would have fixed everything. You are the kind of person who has always suspected that the answer was simpler than they were letting on, that useful knowledge kept getting buried under a price tag, and this time you were right. You do not need to be talked into anything or sold anything. You just needed the method back, and now it is yours. So here is what I want you to do for me. Think back to the drill I gave you. The kitchen table doorknob turn. The slow quarter rotation from palm down to handshake. I want you to try it tonight 20 times during whatever you watch after this. And then I want you to come down to the comments and tell me one thing. Tell me the weight of the ball you have been using, and whether you are going to try dropping down to something lighter and looser. Just type it out and leave it. I read them, and I answer. And other folks your age are down there swapping what worked for them. So your comment helps the next person who thinks they are too old for this. If you felt that click of something being handed back to you, then you belong with us. Because this channel is a group of people quietly reopening the practical knowledge that got buried so someone else could profit, and we do it one forgotten method at a time. Follow along, because the next case I am chasing is just as buried as this one. I found a note in an old bowling proprietor's manual about a way to read the oil on a lane with nothing but your own eyes and the shine off the boards, a trick house bowlers used to find the pocket on any lane in the country before anybody sold a chart for it. I am tracking down where that came from right now, and I want you there when the case breaks open. Hold looser, let go sooner, and I will see you at the next one. Now, this video showed you the idea, but the full release, finger by finger, at your own pace, waits for you inside the Wise Living Circle. In there you can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. And you would not be alone, others like you are already inside. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel anytime with one click.